And Omid Scobie calls on King Charles III to use his reign to fight the royal family's ties to slavery, because that's what made Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, suffer so much in the royal family. Now that it is clear that Omid Scobie's new book Endgame about the British royal family has fatally failed in sales, the author's attempts to draw attention to his opus are particularly amusing. Nearly 2 weeks after the Dutch version of Endgame named King Charles III and Catherine, Princess of Wales, as royal racists, Omid continues to look for someone to blame for the incident. He finally found the courage to admit that, in fact, in the draft of his book, the names of Charles and Catherine were named. This was the reason for their disclosure. It was the draft that was originally sent to Zander Uitgever's publishing house in the Netherlands. Omid wrote in an article for iNews. To be clear, the only publisher I worked with directly was the one that handled the book in the US and UK. I spent nearly 2 months with independent UK attorneys and in-house counsel to make sure that every detail in the finished book was legally flawless. Without my knowledge at the time, an early and raw text was provided to the Dutch publisher so that they could begin work on the translation, with the understanding that their translation would be updated to reflect the final version of the book that I had officially submitted. But in a statement given to Mail Online, the publisher disputed this, calling it factually incorrect. A spokesman for publisher Zander Uitgever said, Omid Scobie's explanation in his iNews column about the Dutch editorial process of the Dutch edition of Endgame is factually incorrect, and we do not recognize ourselves in his representation of events. Zander Uitgevers is forbidden to say anything about the content, so we suggest that all questions be directed to the agent of UTA, the agency that handles Omid Scobie's affairs. Author. In his article for iNews, entitled Negative Reaction to Endgame Shows How Unwilling We Are to Confront Racism, Omid Scobie did not miss the opportunity to once again talk about racism as a legacy of colonialism and slavery, and called on King Charles III to use his reign to fight the royal family's ties to slavery. Refusing the opportunity to meaningfully explore the royal institution's historical ties to slavery, and the impact its legacy had on the country, or to engage in serious conversations about the royal institution's failure to protect its only family member of color, sends a clear message that these issues simply do not matter to the royal family. Instead of properly addressing everything in a genuine attempt to modernize and better reflect the diversity of the country they serve, the royal family continues to gloss over the issues, and even more so, sweep them under the rug. Oh how! Now Meghan is no longer just a victim of royal racism. She is, as Omid believes, carrying on her shoulders the full weight of the legacy of imperialism, colonialism and slavery that gave rise to this royal racism. But after all, Omid, in the numerous interviews he gave as part of the promotional campaign for his scandalized book Endgame, reported that he is not a friend of Meg's. So there's no way to know for sure. And an insider of the magazine OK assures that in the palace to the hints that the Dukes of Sussex may ask back, took more than seriously and categorically do not want such a variant of events. Senior members of the royal family are more than aware that Harry and Meghan's popularity has plummeted since Megxit and are concerned that bringing them back into the royal circle could prove disastrous for the family, a source told the publication. Because of the change in Meghan and Harry's reputation in England, it could negatively affect all the Windsors. They don't want to be booed at public events, and they certainly don't want to be seen as weak for allowing them to come back after all they've done. Well, the already mentioned Omid Scobie, as part of the same advertising campaign to promote the failed Endgame, made a statement that went unnoticed because of the hype surrounding the royal racists, King Charles III and Catherine, Princess of Wales. We all remember that Prince Harry began to divorce with Meghan Markle even before their marriage, and after the wedding divorce is inevitable sounded on average once a quarter, although, especially now, it is clear that the dissolution of the marriage is unfavorable to both. So they will still live. This is what Omid Scobie also says. During an interview on the American TV channel ABC, he was asked a question, in his opinion, whether the topic of divorce is relevant to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, and Omid confidently answered, "From what I know, they are absolutely fine. They're a couple who are literally bound together by shared trauma and experiences. They're kind of two against the world, as it sometimes seemed to be for them. I don't think their bond is broken." Just to reiterate, Omid has been denying any communication with Meghan Markle in every way possible. Leave a comment and like the video.